Okay, cleaning the plate. We're ready to do the tint exercise, but before we do that, I want you to measure 2 centimetres down from the top line, and I need you to measure 2 centimetres in each of the boxes. So we're turning those we're going to just divide them in half, and I want you to get the hang of practicing. Like, that's 2 centimetres. You can see I've zoomed in, it's a bit blurry. 2 centimetres, speed it up, 2 centimetres all the way down, and the other side. I want to get used to you guys making marks so you can join up those marks and get a straight line. Line it up, make it so it's clear between the 2 marks, measure twice, rule once, be nice and neat. Okay, red, we're starting with yellow, and we're going yellow, then all the warm colours, yellow, orange, red, and then we're going to do purple, blue, and green. So I'll put yellow, and I've got black and white. In the middle, making sure that yellow suits there, so just paint yellow. And then what we do is we add a brush load of white along with the brush load of yellow, so it's 1-to-1 mix. And that gives us, you can see that I'm really mixing that paint, twisting the brush, and you add that to the top. Then with that mix, you add another lot of white. So we work along, adding more white to that mix. You might end up getting more paint than you need, so you've got to be careful not to load up your paintbrush too much, but we're adding 1 paint load of white to the previous mix each time. We're diluting the yellow with white. And you can see, zoomed in there, I'm painting in each of those squares. As you can see, I've moved across a bit on the palette, so because there was too much paint. So adding a bit more white, and that gives you an indication of how much white you need to tint down to the various colours. And of course, there's all points in between. Now we're going to do the same with black. Black is a very powerful agent. So I'm using only a half, like a little dip of black. And you watch the second one, add that dip of black. Black almost completely absorbs the yellow. But the point is, yes, we're covering the yellow, but we're actually flavouring the black, adding a little bit more yellow to it because I want to make sure we have a different tint in the dark spectrum. So the yellow affects the black, and it warms the black. And black, you should always add a pigment to black because black is a dead colour. It's the absence of colour. And if you tint, we can add it. Okay, so now we're going to try red. Leave a gap because, of course, red and yellow make orange, so we're going to have orange in between them. But see how in real time, carefully I am, and I'm using the little wedge brush, not the bigger one, the little one. You choose your brushes to type. You choose them for what you need them for. Adding that, you can see the sort of time I'm taking with that. Now I speed it up. You don't need to watch me do it. Then I do one little bit with white, mix it up. You can see I'm really going to an effort of making sure that I mix the colours all over so it's not streaky. That's 1 brush of white. Next brush of white. And we get these gradations of tinting as we go down. And one of the things you'll notice is that adding white, even a little bit of white, while it lightens the colour, it also denses the colour. So instead of it being streaky, instead of being transparent, it gives you a little bit more base. So white's very powerful for that. Notice I'm always adding white to the previous mixed colour. So this is a colour mixing exercise for you to get the hang of getting a system in place that suits you, that gives you good control of colours that you mix. Now in this case I'm using 1 colour, black and white, and you can see the gradations of colour moving up, and again washing the brush, cleaning it, because you can't have white if you're going to add black. A little bit of black to the red, give it a good mix, add that. So that will really warm the black, adding red. That means it a little bit more. And I think what you'll find straight away is that black is very powerful at absorbing colour, but it's very subtle. So when you look at the finished painted piece, you can see warm blacks. You can see cool blacks. And that practice, that muscle memory of being able to paint and mix your colours effectively is very important. Right, new paint, add some yellow, add some red, and what am I going to make? Of course, orange. And I want to make sure that the orange that I mix is the same colour as I've got on the original colour wheel. So you can see that I'm making sure that that orange looks the same as the orange on the colour wheel. See? Painting it over, you can't tell the difference. So if you can't tell the difference when you're painting over, except for it being shiny because it's wet, you know you've got a good mix. White, equal parts for the first one, and then adding a dollop of, sort the paper out so it's easy to paint, guys. Make sure that you don't put your palette on a wet paint because it will really mudge and yuck it up. Adding a little bit more white to the previous colour. You add it to the previous colour. You can see I've moved it across because it was too much paint, so I would have had to add too much white and waste all that paint. So that strategy of using paint's really important too. You can sort of see now, because I'm using the same ratio of paint, that we've got a similar trend for all of those colours. Clean the brush, add the black. I've added a little bit of black and I'm mixing that right up into that orange because I don't need the rest of the orange, and I want to make sure that I've got a dilution. Orange is a great way of warming black as well. A little bit more black. You've got to be very careful not to add too much black at the start. It's not 1-to-1 like with white. It's like an 1/8 to 1 because it's very powerful. And whilst you probably can't see it on the video, when I show you the actual thing that I finished, or when you do yours, you will see there's a big difference in the blacks, even though at the moment it probably doesn't look it on the video. So, I'm going to wash the plate. We're doing blue. I'm leaving the other palette because I want to use the yellow that's there and I want to use the red that's there. So, start with blue. Please make sure you can see that I'm putting the saucer on top of the colour wheel. That colour wheel's dry, guys. The paint's dry. Don't put the plate on wet paint, please. You'll be very disappointed. 1-to-1, blue's a very strong colour. We know that. It's very powerful. So, I'm doing the 1-to-1 on the previous colour. Nicely mixed. No streaks. Make sure it's a completely uniform colour. It's practice. You might not get it right at the start. It's practice. See, I've moved across, so I've got another section to work on because otherwise it would take way too much white to dilute that lump of previous colour. So move across. Move across, add white. Especially for blue because it's a very powerful colour. Move across, add white. Same. One load of brush for white, one load of brush for blue, the previous blue. You can see that I'm just adding it there too there. Now black. Oh, I'm doing green there. So I actually mixed the green and the yellow. I didn't bother recording that. It's the same principle. So what I did with the green, and I think this is really important, once you mix your green, make sure it checks exactly like the green on the colour wheel. That's very important. You can see adding 1-to-1 in a different spot. And, using the edge of the saucer is a clever way of doing it because it makes it nice and neat. There was enough paint on the previous brush. Clean the brush, black. I'm going to use all that green to mix it up. So I want to make sure it's all the same. And I'd like to point out to you too that I move the paper around to suit. I move the palette around to suit. I try and make myself comfortable. So you accurate all the time. And be conscious about being accurate. I think that's really important. It took me an hour for each. Of course, I've sped this up 5 times. Now, in this case, the green and the blue cools the black, cools it down. And there's nothing quite like a purple black to do a night sky. So add red, I've got blue there, mix my purple, make sure it is exactly the purple that I've got on the colour wheel. You can't see it at the moment, but I'm actually brushing over the black. There you go. So it's exactly the same as what I've got on the colour wheel. That's really important. We want to keep that method. Get some white. I'm only using a little bit because it's the last bit. You can see it becomes really purple when you add white to it. And that's the thing that I really love when you add the white. It actually gives it so much more substance. And it's not unusual for painters to use a secondary colour and then add white to it. And then you can add, I could add more red to that purple, make it a more reddy purple, make it a tertiary colour. You can see, move across, add the same amount of white, 1-to-1 ratio all the way around. I really want to make sure you're reminded how well I'm mixing that colour. It takes some time, but the effect is really worth it. And if you get used to doing it in this circumstance, when we actually do painting, you'll be much more confident. Black and, as you can imagine, black and purple, really powerful colours together, very dark. And whilst you probably can't really see it on the video, when I show you the actual thing, when you do your actual thing, you'll see a purple black is a beautiful colour. You can use a purple black as a wash, and it looks like an evening sky, because really sky at night is not black, it's a purple black. Final box. There's nothing quite like finishing. Notice the paper's neat. I'm doing this to prove to you that I washed the plates. It's really important. That's why I use the plates, because you wash them. And don't leave the paint in the sink for your mum to clean up. Cleaning the brush, running the water through the bristles, then wipe the benches down. Put the paints away. Nice and neat. In the box so you know where they are. Put the brushes, make sure they're clean and dry. In the packet, put them away. Clean everything up. Wipe things down. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're going to end up with. With warm colours to the left and cool colours to the right. We're going to do warm and cool colour. Enjoy, please be neat, and it's okay if you make a mistake. We've got plenty of sheets of paper.